afternoon and welcome to Patterson Field here in sunny Los Angeles, California for this AUDL Week 7 matchup between the San Francisco Flamethrowers and the Los Angeles Aviators. Both teams with up and down seasons thus far, but still very much alive in the hunt for the third playoff spot out west. I'm Jeremy Ziskind, alongside me LA Viva player Samantha Pitman. And Samantha, the Aviators are going to need to put this one in the bag to feel pretty good about their playoff run.
Yep, coming into this game, the LA Aviators are 2-4. They're in a three-way tie for that third spot in the division. San Francisco Flamethrowers a little bit safer with a 3-4 record coming into this game, but LA really needs to win this game if they want to end up in a good spot and not at the bottom of the pile.
So it should be a fantastic matchup out here. The San Francisco Flamethrowers coming onto the field now. Let's talk about some of the key players on their squad. First of all, you have to talk about number 12, Eli Kearns.
He's really been a great player for them this year, probably their most polished player. He's a triple threat with throws, running, and really great catches. He's just out of playing college. He's currently playing for Revolver. Really one to watch out for on the field.
And then, of course, number 35, Lucas Dahlman. He's not a very flashy player, but he's incredibly quick. He's a workhorse for that team, and you're going to be hearing his name called a lot this evening. Now, on the opposite side, the Los Angeles Aviators, when you talk about this squad, it's really their captain and veteran leader, Mark Elbogen.
Mark Elbogen, captain of the Condors for the past number of years. A really, really well-rounded player, arguably the biggest threat on defense, a very solid leader who really can follow through on all of the best practices that he wants his team to follow.
And then, of course, the rising star of the year, somebody who was not on our radar at the beginning, Sean McDougall.
Sean has really come out of nowhere in the LA scene. A relative unknown playing co-ed 2 years ago, this year playing with LA's own Renegade. With a really breakout season, he is someone who will always get fired up to get that D. If anything happens on the field, he will always get it back for his team and run down just about anything that is put up in the air.
And before we get started this evening, would like to take this moment to say the Aviators are proud to announce a partnership with Select Physical Therapy, the exclusive provider of athletic training services for Aviator home games. Select Physical Therapy is a national leader in sports medicine and rehabilitation, with multiple locations in the Los Angeles area and San Diego, serving the needs of injured workers, weekend warriors, and athletes of all ages.
We'd also like to thank Seamount Industries and TPT, the production truck, for providing production equipment that made this presentation possible.
And we are set, Samantha, for the opening poll here in this Week 7 matchup, and boy, I am excited.
It's going to be a really exciting game. LA has a lot on the line, as do the Flamethrowers.
All right, and the opening poll is set. Lucas Dahlman gets it just shy of the end zone, and Joe Forbes catches the pull, centers it to Stephen Chang, and already right off the bat, Husayn Carnegie with a great grab in the middle.
And now Chang looking to Joe Forbes, well known for his long bomb cannon flick huck. Husayn getting basically every other, as is expected, looking for a quick reset high in the stall count with a lucky recovery on the LA side.
And Grant Boyd looking to get it off the sideline, gets it back to Ed Mello. Mello looking to break, throws a cheeky scoober, but that's going to be out of the reach of his receiver, and it's San Francisco back on offense looking to break here on the first point of the game.
They're back in the middle of the field with a really great cut set up by the San Francisco team, leaving themselves lots of open space. LA really needing to shut down that break side. San Francisco is going to get a lot of yards if they can keep getting it to that break side to move it up the field.
And the Aviators sagging off the handlers, looking to clog the lanes. San Francisco having some trouble getting it upfield, nearly turfs the disc. Conker gets it back to the middle. Oh, a very dangerous bid by Grant Boyd.
Nearly got it though.
Yeah, no foul is called. And the Flamethrowers working it up the field, having a tough time. Gets it to his handler and right outside the end zone, and that is a score. Flamethrowers 1, Aviators nothing.
So coming out, San Francisco looking really, really patient with the disc. Los Angeles looks a little tight on offense. They're really not getting it off the sideline quite enough. Their defense needs to work harder to get that disc back. San Francisco looking really patient, able to move it up the field.
So both teams feeling it out there in the first point. An unfortunate execution error on LA's part. San Francisco punches it in.
Both teams, this is the first time they've seen each other. They're really feeling out how the other team is going to respond. Right now, Barzlang with the pull for San Francisco Flamethrowers, getting it out there.
So Chang gets it up the field to the sideline. Big man, Jacob Ballmer, huge gain up the sideline.
And just, if you overthrow Husayn, you know that you've put a disc very, very fast out front.
Oh, wow.
Probably the most athletic player on the field on both sides. Famed for his 40-inch vertical, Husayn is just a phenom.
And so Eli Kearns set to pick up the disc for the Flamethrowers, going in the opposite direction, marked by Stephen Chang. Quick break off the sideline to Chialvo. Back to Kearns.
Looking for that give-go up the line. Success, setting up into a power position. Unfortunately, no one going deep for him. Bars with the undercut, coming back toward the disc to get some good yards there. Aviators trying out a double team. It's a tactic that has seen some success in the league, able to actually leave a man open to crowd the thrower.
So the Flamethrowers working it all up the force sideline with their handlers, and a speculative throw to the end zone. That's going to get the job done. It's number 9, Greg Marliov. And that is another break for the Flamethrowers. They're up 2-0 here in the early going.
Aviators looking a little frustrated at this point. It's still early in the game. There's lots of time for them to come back and really get a sense of how to shut down these Flamethrowers. I think the main key is intensity on defense.
I think you're right, and intensity, the hallmark of Flamethrowers coach Josh Greenow. Greenow, a longtime standout for the University of Oregon men's team and played a very long time in the Bay Area for San Francisco's Jam. He's been a fixture in the Bay Area for quite some time, and his intensity has clearly carried over to this Flamethrowers defense.
Aviators ready for the pull, got their O-line out. Huge pull from San Francisco.
And that's Lucas Dahlman again with the pull. That's going to come down to Dan Bellinger. Centers the disc to Zach Schachner. Aviators moving it up the field quite well to Ian Chiles. Back to Schachner. Schachner winds up.
Looking for the middle with a choice hammer to the far side out to Dan Bellinger.
And a huge huck from Bellinger out. And that's going to be caught by Simon Evans in stride. That is what you're looking for the Aviators. That's a hold for the 2-1 score.
Simon Evans, longtime player with Renegade, UCLA alum. All-around great player and great person.
Aviators get the job done on that point, and we're going to see the Flamethrowers' offensive line for the first time in this game, and we're going to be looking for Eli Janin, number 24. Again, another University of Oregon star. Has pretty much every throw in the book, including he's busted out several 85-yard backhands, Samantha.
Wow. That's impressive. I thought you were going to say push pass.
That would be something, wouldn't it? So it's Janin with the disc in the center. Swings the disc over to Kearns.
Aviators playing a much looser defense, trying to really get into the lane and take away some of the middle space. Arguably effective. They haven't been able to get it into a deep shot yet. And D by LA, causing some confusion in the middle.
A bit of a miscommunication, kind of throws it between two defenders, and the Aviators are looking for their break back to get it on serve. So Bellinger.
Swing to Mitchell, back into the middle.
That's to Silverman. Silverman to Steiner, and Steiner is going to go just outside the reach. Oh, wow, that was very close to an Aviators break. A fingertip attempt falls short. It looks like that was number 24, Andrew Pebley. And so the Flamethrowers back on the other direction and a layout.
Barzlang with his trademark interesting layouts. There are pictures all over the place of that man in weird positions catching that disc.
I will have to take your word for it, Samantha. Wow, huge bid from Simon Evans. And the Flamethrowers with some dicey shots up the field, but they retain possession. Eli Janin running the offense as the quarterback. fakes the hammer, throws it to the opposite side of the field.
Oh, don't throw it up that line. There we go. Great mark by Zach Schachner, preventing an easy goal up the line.
Kearns.
And then a huge bid for a D attempt. Mitchell with the attempted D.
And the Flamethrowers about 10 yards outside of the end zone, trying to get something going. Offense looking stagnant. They're working it amongst their handlers. Janin gets some space. Kearns now. Is that going to stay in bounds? Yes, it is. Number 9. That's Greg Marley off again with the Flamethrowers hold, and that's 3-1.
Still a game. LA is really showing that they're in this with some great defensive positioning and really able to stop the Flamethrowers from getting easy goals on that end zone line.
And you know, Samantha, the Aviators are right there. They've gotten several Ds already in this game, but it's been the execution errors so far that have plagued them.
Yep. I think it's really, they're just looking really tight. Once they find their groove, relax a little, it's all going to come together.
You can see Zach Schachner breathing heavy coming off the field. He's been a star for them since coming over from the East Coast, played in New York, and he's been a big pickup for the team this season. All right, Ed Mello set to receive, picks the disc up and gets it to
Steve Chang.
And that's Sean McDougall over to Joe Forbes. The Aviators with some short in cuts, working it up the field nicely amongst their handlers.
Really looking for those easy throws. Near miscommunication with between Forbes and Chang. Husayn with the catch, of course. Ed Mello looking really open in the middle. Great mark by San Francisco to stop that upfield movement.
So the Aviators reversing the field. Forbes creating some nice space. That's McDougall again in the middle. And back to Boyd.
Yeah.
Aviators working it the width of the field, back and forth, looking for that shot. And there's Chang.
There it is.
And there he is. Oh, on the
Not quite
doorstep.
in. There we go.
And that's Zach Theodore, gets it to McDougall, but looks like this one's coming back on a call, Samantha. Possibly a pick call. Referees waving off the goal. That one's going to come back to the thrower. So the disc is going to come back to the 35-yard line.
With that 10-yard penalty.
Breaks it up to McDougall. McDougall with the break mark backhand to Theodore. Theodore 10 yards outside of the end zone. He's going to need a dump.
Ooh,
oh, and McDougall cannot get it. Didn't put enough zip on that one, and the Flamethrowers are going the opposite direction. So an immediate...
Quick movement up the line for a good 20-yard gain. San Francisco really still looking patient.
And a big forehand huck to the end zone. Theodore's in position for the D, and he snags that one easily. So now the Aviators...
Centering to Boyd on the San Francisco end zone line. Throwing to Husayn Carnegie is always a great choice, especially when he is that open. To Forbes on the far sideline with a cheeky scuba.
And Samantha, there's some minimal wind here in the early going, but it looks like the teams have some jitters, and once again we see the Aviators with a miscue, and unfortunately that's on their own goal line. Ed Mello can't pick that one up.
No, that was a little too far back.
San Francisco Taylor Leahy with the lefty backhand to Miller, and that is another break for the Flamethrowers. That's 4-1.
That's tough for the Aviators. They can have a hard time coming out of a hole. I have faith that they will be able to pull this back together. Really just need to clean up their offense. They're getting really crowded in the middle there. Just need to keep it moving. They were doing great when they were swinging back and forth across the field. Yeah.
So the Aviators here back on offense, trying to bring it to 4-2. And that's Ian Chiles to
with the quick backward throw to Dan Bellinger. To Steiner in the middle, great catch by Zach Schachner for a long bomb, easy score to Simon Evans.
Schachner to Evans, that'll get it done. Evans with the great breakaway speed, must have been open by about 20 yards, and it helps when your thrower can put it on a nice platter for you like that.
Exactly. Simon Evans with both scores for LA so far.
And Simon Evans, a UCLA grad.
Recently engaged.
Recently engaged, very nice. You know, the Aviators really are a hybrid of the Los Angeles and Santa Barbara area club teams. Now, historically, those teams haven't got along so well, have
No,
they?
there's been a long-standing rivalry going back between those teams. There were some who weren't sure that they were going to be able to pull together and form a unified team, but they are certainly doing that.
And the teams go back quite some ways. The Condors having tremendous success, of course, winning 2 club titles in the early 2000s. With a lot of LA area products on that team. So the LA has actually been quite instrumental in Santa Barbara's success over the years.
Absolutely.
Oh, and an unfortunate drop by the Flamethrowers, and this is going to be the Aviators' chance to go in the opposite direction. But looks like this one is coming back. That's a foul call on the mark. So the Flamethrowers will walk the disc up 10 yards and look to move it downfield. Stuck on the sidelines, working it up in tight spaces. That's Nick Slovan, who throws the speculative shot. Oh, and what a skying grab by number 4, Bars Lang. Wow, that was quite the elevation, and he gets it to his teammate Federico Chialvo. That's a 5-2 Flamethrowers.
Bars Lang, a former LA player, currently living up in the Bay, played with 7 figures here in LA for a number of years, currently playing co-ed with Blackbird.
As we see Aviators coach Franklin Rowe with some last-minute adjustments. He's been a fixture in the Los Angeles club scene and college scene for quite some time.
He coached Renegade last year. He was also a coach for the USC women's team for a number of years. Prior to that, he was an East Coast player playing in Washington, D.C., New York, New Jersey, as well as some in LA after the move out here.
So Ben Hubbard with the pull, and Chang immediately breaks it to Husayn Carnegie. Aviators in a horizontal stack. And
a great catch by Grant Boyd, and foul on the mark.
Foul on the mark, and Grant Boyd's going to walk that one up.
Crack daddy! Crack daddy!
And
So the Aviators set it up. Can't find Elbogen on the break side, and that's the lefty.
And to Husayn Carnegie.
Easy does it. Mid-range pass on a platter, and you put it anywhere in Husayn's area, and he's going to come down with it.
Yes, you could almost call him an insurance policy. He will pick up whatever coverage you need.
Husayn, quite the AUDL veteran. This is actually his 3rd AUDL team, playing in the inaugural year with the Connecticut Constitution. Also played with the New York Empire.
Yep, along
He's
with
out here in California getting a master's in fine arts.
I had no idea that
That's
he was such a creative fellow.
A creative fellow indeed. Didn't think he was going to have enough time to play in the professional leagues, but once he learned that the Aviators meant business this year, he was on board. So he's been a great pickup for them.
The call of that disc is very strong.
So it's 5-3 Flamethrowers. Both teams feeling each other out in the early going, but the Flamethrowers have been able to get it back when they've had turnovers. The Aviators haven't been able to punch in their breaks.
And up, big D by Mitchell Steiner.
Wow, over the top of Alex Sermani. Both teams going head over heels for that one, and that
Huge
was
D.
quite the D.
Yeah, that was, I think, a really important D for LA. So as to get spirits up, it's really important to have those moments to get the team fired up.
So 2 minutes left here in the first quarter, and the Aviators looking for their first break of the game halfway in their own end zone. They're going to have to work at the length of the field and grind this one out. Bellinger back in the center. Gets it to Shackner. Shackner with the immediate forehand up to Evans.
Simon Evans with a huge bid.
Wow.
Unfortunate turnover.
You know, Samantha, it looked like he had enough distance on that one, but it just went right under his hand.
Yep, it looks like the wind is picked up, and I would credit the wind with that D.
Oh, and a throw that's behind Greg Marliov gives the Aviators another chance with just over a minute left in the first quarter.
Dan Bellinger with a quick pickup to Steiner. Steiner himself, as a veteran of the AUDL, and just an overthrow to his teammates. can see the wind flapping the jerseys. It looks like it's really picking up out there.
San Francisco calling a timeout, trying to punch this one in and get the hell point over with.
It's true. One of the interesting things about timeouts in the AUDL is you can actually swap out all 7 players if you want to take out your entire D-line to bring out your entire O-line to get this kind of job done.
This timeout is brought to you by Savage, the ultimate apparel company. Savage is proud to sponsor the Aviators and is the official provider of off-field clothing. So Eli Janin gets it to Kearns. We have a 7-second stall count, meaning you have to get the disc out of your hands within 7 seconds, or that is an automatic turnover.
Aviators forcing backhand, which is somewhat surprising given how easy it can be to put a huge throw up from the backhand side. Proving to be very successful, holding San Francisco back on that 35-yard line.
And Henry Conker with the disc, getting it back to his handler, Kearns. Kearns working it with Janin, Flamethrowers moving backwards. And Conker up the sideline, and that's Dan Bellinger with the game-saving, I should say quarter-saving D in the corner for the Aviators. They're going to have a very limited time left here on the clock to try to punch that one in, but that was a timely D.
That was great. An unfortunate foot block coming off of that corner. Again, a timely D for San Francisco at this point.
So Samantha, I'm pretty sure you're familiar with the term conservation of greatness.
Yes, there's only so much greatness that can be had in one moment. Exemplified perfectly there, unfortunately, by Dan Bellinger with an amazing D, and then only so much greatness at a time.
And Samantha, it looked like the stall count was getting up there. He didn't have too many options. He tried to rip it, but did not pivot, and he threw it right into his defender's foot.
Yep.
Flamethrowers trying to punch it in for their 6th goal of the game, and that's Jordan Jeffrey on the count.
Great.
And Jeffrey gets it to Conker, who roasts his man up line for the 6-3 score.
Yes.
So that is not the kind of play you want right at the end of the quarter. This game is getting a bit sloppy as the conditions have worsened. So the Aviators with 9 seconds left in the first quarter, they're going to have to move this one quickly. They're not going to have a lot of time to get it underneath. And that's Elbogen.
Oh, great.
Lines it up, can't get it, but he throws the forehand. Is it going to go? Oh, no. And that one is going to fall short of the end zone, looking for his target, Carnegie. That's not going to get it done, and the first quarter comes to a close with the Flamethrowers 6, Aviators 3. What have we seen here in the first quarter from the Aviators? What are they going to need to improve as they head into the second quarter?
I think the biggest thing they need to improve is just their communication, their on-field communication, understanding where your teammate is going to be cutting so that you can put it in a position where they get it. They've had really great success on their deep shots, as you've said, putting it out there on a platter for someone to pick it up, but they've had probably triple the number of just slight overthrows or just skimming past teammates' fingertips, which is probably the most frustrating kind of turnover.
So here at the start of the second quarter, 12 minutes to play. The wind playing a bit of a factor here, a slight upwind, downwind game. Now, Samantha, when you're going upwind in conditions such as this, what are you going to do differently to make those throws get more snap?
Generally speaking, you're really going to try to get a stronger angle on the disc so that it can really fly farther. But on this field, because of how it's positioned on the side of a mountain with all the buildings around, the wind can actually end up a little swirly. So really trying to focus on snap and spin and flat is probably going to be your biggest success on this field.
And Bars Lang turfs it. So the Aviators, at the start of this second quarter, trying to punch in a break.
Yeah, they seem to have come out of that first quarter looking much more confident, being much more decisive in their cuts upfield. Right now, a little bit clogging.
Oh, and just outside the end zone, that's Evans on the doorstep. Evans dumps it back to Silverman. To Bellinger. Bellinger off to Chiles. with the momentum, can't get it to Schachner. Silverman coming up, but a poaching defender cuts that one off. Bellinger back to Silverman. Silverman all the way to the other side of the field to Evans. 2 yards outside, and that's going to be an Aviators break to Zach Schachner.
Really great patience and capitalizing by Simon Evans on the doorstep twice. Really great patience the first time, not looking for something too quick. That second time, saw Zach open right in front of him, able to just quickly get it to him.
The Aviators punch in their first break of the game. 10:42 left in the second quarter, and it's 6-4. That's Jordan Jeffrey up to Dahlman. Dahlman with a curving forehand to Conquer. Flamethrowers working it easily up the field. Bumped on the mark. That's going to be a foul. And that disc is going to be walked up 10 yards. And there it is. Easy does it. Lucas Dahlman with the diving grab. That's Flamethrowers 7, Aviators 4.
The defense just unable to shut down San Francisco on that point.
And San Francisco coming out in a different offensive set, electing to go for an isolation side stack, chewing up large chunks of yardage on that point. So the Aviators going to have to adjust their defense to the new look that the Flamethrowers are giving them.
Setting up really favorable matchups on that inside space, giving everyone basically 30 yards to go in any direction.
So Elbogen gets it to McDougall. And McDougall looking for Chang. Chang working really hard to get open. But Forbes with the disc now. Incredibly tight defense from Casey Ikeda, making it very difficult for Chang to get any kind of separation. Mello up to McDougall. McDougall 10 yards outside. And that's Boyd and McDougall with the layout grab for the Aviators' goal.
And there's that threat that we've seen Sean McDougall to be, getting that D, making some really great catches, and potentially saving that whole point.
So let's talk about Sean McDougall for a little bit, because this was a name that we had not mentioned very much earlier in the season. Where did this kid come from, and why has he been such a threat this season?
He's really just been an out-of-nowhere breakout. Coming onto the LA scene, I think the key for him was getting into the men's game and really being able to take advantage of the youth and really play against some of the best players in the region to put himself in a position to get the D, as well as having no fear of the ground.
So the disc bounces off the chest of Mitchell Steiner, and the Flamethrowers are going in the opposite direction once again. Aviators not able to punch in that break.
Yeah, I think another unfortunate case of that conservation of greatness. Steiner had that huge D on the end zone, was able to throw it, but only so much greatness in one point.
And right you are, Samantha. That's Ben Hubbard, who toes it in. Just a giant of a man whose length was able to let him reel that one in with plenty of room to spare.
Really some fancy footwork to keep it there.
And the Flamethrowers hold. That's going to be 8-5 with 8:18 left in the second quarter.
Still really close game. 3 points is not a deficit.
And we should mention the difference between a club game or a pickup game and the AUDL. Going up 8-5 in a typical club game that goes to 15 might be incredibly difficult to overcome, but here that deficit is much easier to make up.
Yeah, you have a much better margin to be able to make that comeback.
And Grant Boyd gets it to his receiver. That's Chang, who catches it for the goal. He's usually the one throwing it.
Yeah, I'm sure his defender was surprised. It's always nicer to cover handlers. They tend to not make those kinds of huge gains.
So Chang adds to his assist total with a goal of his own, another UCLA product on this team, along with Mark Elbogen, among others. Plenty of UC Santa Barbara products as well, including Dan Bellinger with the pole.
And what a pull. I always get pull envy. I'm wishing that I could throw 100 yards upwind, no
It
less.
makes you a threat on any team you choose to play for. And Jordan Jeffrey jacks the backhand.
Oh, with...
And Patrick Leahy with Jeff Silverman draped all over him comes down with the goal. That was an impressive catch, Samantha.
Yeah, Silverman just not able to get position on the inside. He did an admirable job trying to get in front, but Leahy just really able to keep him boxed out and maintain the position under that disc.
And Silverman is one of those really physical defenders.
Yeah.
He plays that brand of physical defense that the Aviators have been known for this season. Unfortunately, couldn't come up with that one.
The Santa Barbara Condors style aggressive defense?
I would say so. Joe Forbes with the forehand. Cross field, just outside the end zone.
Easy pass.
And easy does it. That's who else? Husayn Carnegie.
Husayn, just an incredible threat on that field. He's really a pick your poison kind of player. Either you can give him the unders and get him have every other, or you can choose to let him go deep and get skied and scored on.
Carnegie, we should mention, was named All AUDL in his previous stint with the Empire and was born in Kingston, Jamaica, but grew up in Lewiston, Maine. So a well-traveled player for the Aviators. No surprise there. So Sermani back to Janin, running the offense with Kearns for the Flamethrowers. High release flick.
Bars pulling it down.
And Bars Lang. Jeff Silverman coming into the back for the help, but he can't get there, and that's going to be Nick Slovan with a great read over two defenders, and that's 10-7 Flamethrowers.
One of the biggest things I think you could say about Jeff Silverman is his closing speed is really impressive. He was significantly behind and able to really come up and be help on that D, seemingly out of nowhere. And same on that last defense. He wasn't able to make the play, but he was able to recover the distance in short order.
And Samantha, it's consistently impressive how Silverman, his field awareness allows him to play off of his defender and help at the back for those hucks.
Yeah, that kind of a player is really critical to just about every team, to have that person who can cover any ground and be the almost extra man, seeming like an extra man on the field.
Aviators working the length and width of the field nicely. Elbogen in space, gets the disc back to Chang. Elbogen with the forehand to the end zone, looking for Carnegie. And Carnegie's going to bring it down.
That's what he
does. Oh my goodness. Dahlman all over his back, and Carnegie holds him off for this spectacular score.
Mm-hmm. And Husayn really, really smartly decides to hold back and not go for the disc to keep his defender out of position, knowing that he has the speed to be able to get to the disc and that his defender won't.
And it's intelligence like that that made him all AUDL.
Mm-hmm.
So we're trading points here in the second quarter, 5:55 to play. Flamethrowers out in their side stack, and the Aviators playing what looks like their first zone of the game. What's going on here, Samantha?
It really looks like a more sort of what's known as a junky kind of defense. You're having really, really hard poaches in the lane trying to just make a mess of the middle, while further downfield you have very, very tight man-on-man defense, really trying to out-athlete the cutters upfield and just make sure that they cannot get deep and that the only space is in that middle where there's a poach hanging out.
So Slovan in the middle. Aviators doing a good job of turning this point into a grind. And up the line, that's Kearns. And with the emphatic spike against Jeff Silverman to bring it to 11-8.
That's got to be tough for Jeff. He has been right there on all 3 of their last goals. Just unable to get in front and make that D. Aviators doing a great job. They're keeping it within 3 points, which, I mean, this quarter they've really gone point for point, keeping up with the Flamethrowers.
Flamethrowers, of course, losing in the first round of the playoffs last year to the San Jose Spiders. This year, expecting to continue the run of success, haven't quite had the same kind of season as they did last year.
No, they've really seen some stiff competition this year.
So another sloppy point. Joe Forbes lines up the huge huck, and he's looking for Husayn, squaring it up, and goes over the top of number 52, Patrick Leahy. Samantha, he must have gotten 5 feet in the air for that score.
For those following along at home, Husayn's vertical has been recorded at 40 inches.
Oh my goodness.
He can jump over people, I'm sure, if someone was in his way. That was just incredible. Talk about knowing your receiver. I mean, looking at that choice, his defender had the position on that, but when you've got Husayn who can get that far up, you can just put it high and far and know that it will be brought down.
Well, the Aviators really beginning to take flight in this second quarter. 4:10 to go, and another turf disc from the Flamethrowers gives it right back. Looking to fast break. Schachner fakes the hammer to the other side. Bellinger gets caught halfway in between a throw. Oh my goodness!
And Simon Evans, wow.
Evans goes over the top of his own teammate, and 2 Flamethrowers defenders for that one. So the Aviators trying to punch it in. Defender falling over, but he can't reach it. Oh, it's looking dicey. Jannon gets in his way, and that's a big body. That's going to be 10 yards. So a bit sloppy here on the end zone line, somewhat stagnant downfield. The Aviators trying to work it in.
If they can just stay patient.
And Bellinger with Federico Chialvo, who proclaims his innocence, but he is all over, and they are fired up.
Flamethrowers coach jumping in.
Coach Josh Greenow tries to get in the middle. He's been known to have a flare-up or 2 in his time, always known as a fiery player.
This timeout brought to you by Savage, the ultimate apparel company. Savage is proud to sponsor the Aviators and is the official provider of off-field clothing.
So after tempers flare on the field, timeouts called and cooler heads prevail. Stephen Chang is going to have the disc. A little give-and-go action with the handlers.
Great defense from San Francisco.
Can't get the break off, but an inside break to Carnegie, and that will get it done. The Aviators pull within 1. It's 11-10.
If they can keep this tight, they stand a real chance of pulling ahead in the second half.
And you know, Samantha, the Aviators are doing a great job at getting the Flamethrowers to play at their pace.
It's true.
Flamethrowers have a number of finesse throwers on their team that are used to having whatever throw they want. The Aviators have been grinding this entire game and not giving them the looks that they're looking for.
No, I think they're playing their poachy defense with
and an immediate overthrow, and that's going to be Zach Schachner looking to break again for the Aviators. That's an overthrow on the first throw of the point. And Bellinger gets it to Silverman. Aviators tie the game back to 11-11, and they have clawed their way back right before halftime.
Right before halftime. What a great D by Zach Schachner. That was an opportunity that he just took.
Aviators fans loving it there on the flight deck here at Patterson Field at Occidental College. And we're going to get to see Evan Valdez on the field for the first time in this game.
Evan, longtime LA player, former captain of Renegade. Great player, great teammate. Always exciting to watch.
And he has joined the team halfway through this season, you know, with scheduling and with injuries. Valdez, really a good player to pick up and step in and fill a key role for this team moving forward.
It's true. His combine stats were really impressive. It's really no surprise that he's been added to the roster at this point in the season.
Bingo like we talked about. There you go, Dept.
So it looks like either a foul or a travel call will bring the disc back to the Aviators. And this is going to be their first shot to go up in this game since 1-0.
Well, that looks like it might have been a stall down.
No, I think you're right. And Shackner going the other way. Aviators have clawed their way all the way back. Theodore gets to Silverman. Up to Shackner running the offense. Ooh, and that's going to sail long. Evans is fast, but he's not that fast. So that lefty's got to have some more touch on it. Jannon's going to get another chance with under 2 minutes remaining in the half to put the Flamethrowers up by 1, marked by Andrew Pebley.
And LA really not giving the dump any space, really trying to force them to punch it up the line.
Boy, does this offense look sloppy. The Aviators are doing a good job of creating confusion among these Flamethrower handlers. So time ticking down here in the second quarter. A hellacious layout bid by Silverman again comes up short. And Chiles with a run-through block. He's going to get the job done. So the Aviators have another chance.
Another chance to pull ahead in this game.
Silverman, boy, he has been right there on so many Ds, but he cannot quite get it.
Yeah, he really capitalized on that. One of those throws that you really need to take the time to throw the right throw as opposed to the quick throw.
And Shackner getting the disc every other. He's doing whatever he wants on the field. Up to Theodore. Back to Shackner. Breaks it to the other side. Valdez. Ooh, and a casual backhand on the forehand side's not going to get it done.
No.
Didn't have the velocity.
Should have been the right throw, not the easy throw.
Right you are, Samantha. So it's Chialvo.
The give go up that line.
5 yards outside to Kearns. Kearns can't get it to Chialvo. And that is a timeout call by Joshua Greenow. With 8 seconds left in the half, he's going to draw one up to try to punch this in before halftime.
I mean, Aviators putting really great pressure on the San Francisco throwers, really forcing them to have to look upfield. Their reset choice has really not been available for most of this point.
This timeout is brought to you by Savage, the ultimate apparel company. Savage is proud to sponsor the Aviators and is the official provider of off-field clothing. It's Warden, Bellinger, Elbogen, McDougall, Carnegie, Pebley, and Steiner for the defense, with Jannon set to pick up. 1 yard outside, 8 seconds to go. And a hammer to the center is going to get it done. And that will bring the Flamethrowers up by 1 again, 12-11, with 5.7 seconds left in the first half.
I mean, LA's just done an incredible job of building some momentum to close the gap in this half. Great show for the fans.
A rolling pull, trying to take some time off the clock for the Aviators. Swings the other side, and Bellinger hucks it to the end zone. Will it have the distance? Oh, no. Right off of Elbogen's hands. Oh, that was a gift, but Elbogen cannot bring it down for the tie ball game. So we're going into half 12-11.
So close. I mean, you can see the camaraderie between the teammates. I think Husayn was pretty sure he would have caught that if Elbogen hadn't D'd it for him.
And that's the half. Flamethrowers up over the Aviators 12-11, and Samantha, that was quite a first half. The Aviators went down early, a couple of breaks from the Flamethrowers due to some great, tough defense and some miscues. Managed to claw their way back right before halftime.
It's true. I mean, San Francisco did get that early lead. They had some really great patient throwing. You can really see the finesse and the polish of their throwers. LA eventually able to cause a little more chaos in their space, but that catch by Husayn over top of his defender, I mean, his defender had position. San Francisco was playing great defense, but there's only so much you can do when the person you're guarding basically can make you look like you're still standing on the ground.
I think it's safe to say that Carnegie's athleticism is one of the best in all of the AUDL.
It's true, and one of the advantages that the returning teams have is that they've built a lot of chemistry within their players, and LA has done a really great job, for the most part, of building that chemistry within their teams very quickly. In almost any other situation, Forbes should not have thrown that, but knowing his receiver and knowing that he could get up and get out there is really quite an impressive knowledge of your teammate.
So after a thrilling first half, it's Flamethrowers 12, Aviators 11, and the Aviators are set to receive the pull.
The Aviators giving the home fans a really great show on that first half, a very exciting going down and then coming back up to tie late in that second quarter.
Now McDougall with the disc on the sideline, gets it up to Elbogen. Elbogen looking for McDougall, and he skies for the goal. So that's a quick 17-second goal for the Aviators. They tie it up 12-12.
That's exactly what you want to see on offense. Really just taking the open shots, moving the disc quickly. That was, I mean, the smallest possible fraction of the field that they could have been playing on, but made it work. Sean, really such a great asset to this team.
And he held Henry Conker off with his body, boxing him out, getting him on his back, and he was the only one who had a play on that disc. So another smart play from McDougall and a quick start to this half, much better than the start to the game. And the Aviators looking to come out punching here in the third quarter. The Flamethrowers now in a horizontal offense with 3 handlers and 4 downfield receivers. Slovan getting the disc to Kialvo. And that one's coming back on a foul. Looks like Bellinger got smacked right upside the dome. And he is going to take an injury break, and we are going to have a replacement for him. Looks like that's Alan Lai. And looks quite shaken up on the play. Looks like he took a forearm to the face.
And Alan Lai, actually one of the great stories of a player working hard in his development, kept trying out for club teams, kept working on his game, and improving year upon year, and now is playing professional ultimate. You really can't ask for more at this point in a player's development.
So the Flamethrowers, Patrick Leahy, looking for the foul call, doesn't get it. So the Aviators now, again with another chance to go up by 1. Schachner running the offense. Nothing open downfield, stall count getting high, finds Steiner. Steiner with a big fake, gets it back to Schachner. Oh, and he can't reel it in. Was backpedaling, and it gave just enough time for Kialvo to come in and snatch that one away.
Great D. Really impressive energy on the San Francisco side. Really coming out firing. They don't seem to be happy at all about this tie.
So another foul call on the mark. And it's Kialvo getting it to Marliov. Gets the disc to Leahy on the sideline, marked by Chiles. Oh, and that flick's going to sail too high for his receiver, so the Aviators back on offense and an immediate huck in the opposite direction. Oh, and a beautiful grab by Mitchell Steiner over 2 defenders. My goodness. The Aviators making it look good. That's Shackner, and all alone, Evans with the toe at the back line of the end zone. He is fired up.
That is a huge, huge win for Aviators. That kind of fire really brings a lot to your teammates. Really great capitalizing to get that disc moving right away from the Aviators on the far sideline.
And amazing field awareness from Simon Evans, tracking the flight path of the disc at the same time, knowing exactly where his feet were at the back line of the end zone. And the Aviators, Samantha, are now up 13-12, taking their first lead in the game.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't count out San Francisco. They've got great players that I'm sure are fired up to get this game back under their control.
Still plenty of time left in this one with 9:45 left in the third. Jeffries up the field to number 74, Ben Hubbard. Flamethrowers working the width, very tight marks from the Aviators. Straddling the pivot foot is number 6. Cody Johns, and that's going to be walked up 10 yards. Aviators coming out in this second half with very, very, very physical defense, and another foul on the mark by Johns. Samantha, what are we looking at?
This has got to be the third foul. I mean, this is really when you can start to see the intensity of the defense, but at the same time, this is a lot of where the club game has been evolving. You're getting much more physical marks. Both the men's and the women's teams are really starting to play a much more physical defense, which is severely penalized in the AUDL.
So a blade from Lucas Dahlman to Bars Lang ties it back up at 13. Flamethrowers doing a good job of fighting through these tough Aviator marks. They're going to have to keep their cool and composure as this game goes on, because the Aviators are turning this into quite a physical ball game.
Yeah, if you can stay calm under that kind of physical intensity, you're really going to only do good things for your teammates. Coming out on that kind of physical defense, you end up putting yourself out of position and actually end up giving the thrower some of what they want.
And you know, it's interesting, Samantha, because the club game for men's has actually gotten quite a bit less physical over time, as we see a big forehand to Elbogen, and he's going to snatch that out of the air over 2 defenders, and the Aviators take a 1-goal lead. Yeah, so as I was saying, the club game has gotten actually dramatically less physical over time as observers, and now as we see referees in the professional game really keeping the game under control and not letting those tempers flare.
It's true. It'll be really interesting to see how all of these players playing professionally with a 10-yard penalty for that kind of fouling mark, to see if that starts to further change the club game.
Now, unlike basketball, we do not have the ability to have players foul out of a game.
Correct.
But the 10-yardage penalty on the fouls intended to discourage that kind of overly physical play.
And one of the interesting things that we just saw, Bars had the disc, Bars Lang had the disc in the middle of the field with effectively no mark. But in the pro game, there doesn't have to be a mark for there to be a stall count. The stall count is actually independent of whether or not there is a player close versus the regular ultimate that we're all accustomed to playing. There has to be a player close enough to be able to initiate that count.
Oh, and he overthrows his intended receiver. Bars Lang with the chance to pick it up, but Chiles with the heads-up D in the end zone, and he's going to go off with an injury.
Looks like he might have winded himself making that play.
Yeah, and he is jogging off the field, trying to run that one out. Spectacular defensive play, very heads up, even though it was not his receiver. That was the intended recipient of that one. Still was close enough to make up the distance and get the job done. So the Aviators now in a vertical stack.
Oh, an unfortunate and really well-seen defense by San Francisco.
Attempted to huck it to his receiver, but didn't have enough air on that one, and that's an easy D. So it's Brandon Fian back to Casey Ikeda. Short game up to Jordan Jeffrey on the sideline, marked by Evans, and that's going to be a forehand into the end zone. Ooh. And Jeff Silverman snatches that one, says no thank you, and we're going the other way. So Steiner gets it to Bellinger, and Bellinger jacks it all the way downfield, and that's Silverman. He's going to walk under that one. There was nobody within 10 yards of him. Almost throws it away to Evans and calls a heads-up timeout.
In that situation, you know, the timeout is really, in my opinion, the right call. His teammate wasn't open. He'd also just barely caught that disc. It can be very easy to get flustered and not end up making a good choice. You really need to take that time, I think, to make some space, give yourself some options. I mean, it gives your offense the opportunity to get into a good position as opposed to a really, really crowded end zone.
And Stephen Chengo gets it to a laying out Husayn Carnegie, lays out right in front of the poaching defender as the Aviators offense comes on the field after the timeout and punches that one in. The Aviators now with their biggest lead of the game, it's 15-13.
Yep, and I think that just proves the point about the timeout. It gave Evans the opportunity to put it just out into easy space, well, almost occupied space, but turned out for the best.
Really anywhere in Carnegie's orbit, and he's going to do something
basically
extremely filthy.
Exactly.
Now, Flamethrowers got to keep their composure here and punch this offensive hold in. They want to keep this game close. The Aviators coming out in another zone look, trying to slow the handlers down, but the Flamethrowers calmly working it upfield. That's Nick Sloven trying to find his dump. And Evans comes in with a layout block. Heads up defense from him. He read that coming the entire way. He saw the stall count was getting high and he just went for it.
Yeah, you can really see the players who have been playing this game for quite some time. They have an innate sense of what should happen next and are able to get into a position to anticipate that play and make a great, great defensive bid.
So Shackner jacks it to the end zone, but Evans, he was open, couldn't reel it in.
Nope.
A good look from Shackner, had his man streaking deep, but that wind
just needed a little more touch on that throw. Just a little bit slower. Simon had the yards in front.
The Aviators back in their zone. Flamethrowers currently shredding up the field down the middle. And that's back to Sloven. Sloven to Fian. Back to Kearns. Superstar handler in the center of the field gets it back to Janin. Janin with a very loose mark. Gets the break inside to Marliov on the doorstep. And that's a beautiful break backhand to Eli Kearns. The Flamethrowers bring it to within one.
Yeah, it's really looking like San Francisco has figured out how to move through LA's defense that had maybe gotten the better of them at the end of that first half. But their second possession, when they got that break back, you could really see that they were much better able to see where the LA defenders were and throw to the space in between, where only their player could get to it.
And there's something about Kearns and Janin being the rocks of that offensive handler set. They just bring a real cerebral, calm nature to that offense. You know when they have the disc that they're going to do something smart, that they're going to make the right decision, and that they really have all the throws in their arsenal.
It's true, and you can also see the chemistry between them as well. They know when and where to move, and where their teammate is expecting them to move.
So McDougall dumps off the sideline to Forbes, who gets it, tries to get it to Mello, and that is a gigantic layout D from Lucas Dahlman, who picks it up immediately looking to strike. So Jeffrey up to the middle, finds his man Dahlman. Dahlman trying to get the bookends here. Ooh, dicey throw to Jeffrey. Another near poach from the Aviators.
They're playing a really interesting offense. They're trying to keep the quick play action, but LA is doing a good job of staying in the way. They're an excellent example of when the double team, which is not actually allowed in regular club play, can be really effective in just shutting down a thrower.
And that's a big huck.
And
it's going to be misread by both. Theodore comes in with the egregious late bid. I'm not sure exactly what Elbogen was thinking on that play. He just got a great hand block on the scuba, but immediately jacked it to a player that was not quite so open.
I think we said conservation of greatness. I think we've mentioned that a couple of times.
And so the Flamethrowers keep their heads. Lucas Dahlman upsetted himself, but he gets the goal to tie the game back up at 15 here with 3 minutes left in the third. Really,
San Francisco showing their strength and their calm, that patience that they had at the beginning of the game. Just make catchable throws to their teammates. Really starting to see the experience on that team shining through.
We see Sermani on the line, Chialvo set to pull. And the Aviators here with 3 minutes remaining. Centering the disc to Chiles. We see a different offensive line here for the Aviators, some players who we normally would see on defense, including Silverman, who almost never plays on the offensive line. And Balmer.
Who I think we haven't yet seen this game.
Balmer, yes, a gigantic receiver and thrower for the Aviators. Probably the best player I've seen on sand. He is just an enormous body and gets his hand on anything and everything.
Well, he stands, I believe, at 6'4", 6'5", and just an incredible presence.
So San Francisco calls the timeout after that errant throwaway from Balmer.
This timeout brought to you by Savage, the ultimate apparel company. Savage is proud to sponsor the Aviators and is the official provider of off-field clothing.
Aviators have led this entire second half, or for I should say most of the second half, after clawing their way back from an early 3-point deficit. Aviators obviously no stranger to close games. They've had a number of them this season, and this one is proving to be no different.
I think the biggest difference on this one is how long they've been able to keep ahead and have not yet sunk below a tie in the game.
Whoa, and a dicey throw, almost a stall and almost nearly a Callahan, but Janin somehow reels that in.
Yeah.
And the Flamethrowers are now back in business.
So that Callahan can happen when a defensive player actually manages to catch within the end zone that they're attacking. I think everyone has thrown one, but not many have managed to score one.
And the double team confuses the San Francisco thrower, throws it to nobody on the other side of the field, another miscommunication, so the Aviators get the disc back, and that's Chiles getting it up to Theodore, who throws a huck.
With a huge up.
Wow. That was almost an astonishing play by Pebley, but a slight mistime in his leap leaves the disc to the Flamethrowers, who are penetrating back in the opposite direction, and that is going to be an easy goal for number 10, Federico Chialvo, and he is fired up. The Flamethrowers are now back up by one, 16-15.
I spoke too soon. I spoke far too soon.
Plenty of time left in this one. We're going to see all sorts of twists and turns and amazing plays. I can feel it.
Less than 1 minute to go in this third quarter.
So the Aviators back on offense, and that's Chang centering the disc, nearly a turf, to Joe Forbes, now being marked backhand. A good call when you're marking Joe Forbes, who probably has the best forehand in the entire game. I should say in Los Angeles. I can't speak for any other city.
I'd like to see him and Bo go head-to-head on their forehands. I think that would be a really fun game.
Well, Bo not typically known for his forehand, but I tell you who's known for his catches, that's Mark Elbogen, who gets absolutely shellacked in the end zone, but comes up with that grab.
Making it look oh so casual as he does so, even through the pasting to the ground.
So the Aviators captain showing his teammates how it's done. He's got some spider webs in there. He's got some aches and pains, but he's gonna fight to the finish.
It's true. And now off on a well-deserved rest.
So tied 16-16 with 30 seconds left in the third quarter. Question is, will the Flamethrowers attempt for a 2-for-1 play? Will they try to score quickly here to try to get a chance to get the disc back again should the Aviators score? Or will they attempt to milk the rest of the clock and use all 30 seconds for their final score?
Those 30 seconds can feel like some of the longest of your life if you're trying to get that point.
So Dahlman with the disc, 20 seconds and counting down. Flamethrowers look to be in no hurry, milking the clock. That's
Aviators.
Sloven with the forehand. Is that going to stay in bounds? And it's caught with 4 seconds remaining.
How did he catch that?
Oh, and we have an injury on the field. Oh my goodness. Jeffrey Silverman again. He is in on every big play, but an outstanding grab by the Flamethrowers to keep that disc alive.
Unbelievable grab. I thought that was Silverman's for sure.
Aviators sandwiching the receiver on that play. A dicey forehand up the sideline, but he gets the job done with a spectacular grab. So it's Sermani on the sideline. They now put 7 seconds back on the clock and counting. They're going to need to put this one up or time's going to run out, and that's Leahy with a crowd, and that one's going to fall to the ground, and that's Steiner who gets the D to save the final play. Although it looks like we have a foul call, and this disc is going to come back. So just a second, ladies and gentlemen, this quarter is not over yet.
It looks like Dan Bellinger was playing a little physical in the lane covering the cutter, trying to get open, which led to the bladey throw into the end zone.
So we have 7 seconds left on the clock with Leahy marked by Chiles. And he throws a flick to the end zone to Nick Sloven, but that's going to be called off on a delay of game call, which means, Samantha, that the quarter is over.
With no goal from San Francisco.
Samantha, heck of a third quarter. The Aviators down 1 at halftime, 12-11, and they bring it back to tie the game at 16-16.
It's really been an outstanding game. Aviators playing full heart. San Francisco as well, getting some really, really great Ds and really taking advantage of the times when LA gives them the disc back. Great spirit and great intensity from both teams. It's just really, really fun to watch.
And the story of that third quarter was the physicality of the Aviator marks, making it very difficult for the Flamethrowers to fight through and get it to their options downfield.
It's true, but we also saw that physicality hurt the Aviators in the form of losing 20 yards on 2 foul calls. So you really have to find a balance between that intensity on D without initiating too much contact. It really can turn against you.
We're heading into the fourth quarter, tied 16-16. Flamethrowers back on offense. Jannon winds up the big flick huck.
Oh,
And that's going to be caught by Patrick Leahy right outside the end zone. Dishes it to Marliov. Marliov fighting through the double team. That's going to be a foul. And that close to the end zone means he gets to bring it to the center of the field. So on the doorstep, the Flamethrowers are. That's Marliov looking for his receiver. And that is going to be caught by Patrick Leahy for the Flamethrowers' goal.
And I think every Ultimate player has seen the play that they just ran to get that score. Classic parting of the seas, I think, is what many teams call it. You have the first player cutting one side, the second player cutting to the other side, and the third player just coming straight forward, which is where that goal went, right into the middle of the field.
So a classic parting of the Red Sea play goes the Flamethrowers' way, and the Aviators will now look to answer in their first possession of the fourth quarter, and it's going to go down to the wire by the looks of this one. And a beautiful forehand from Mark Elbogen hits its target in Sean McDougall. He's got the easy score, and we have a tie ball game once again.
Once again, LA really proving that they have what it takes to compete at this high level. That is a dropped pull.
That is an unfortunate drop from Federico Chialvo right on his goal line, dropping the pull.
That's heartbreaking. And Aviators hoping to capitalize.
So Chiles playing the two-man game with Bellinger, Silverman, and that is going to get the job done. It's Andrew Pebley with the cut to the cone, and the Aviators take advantage of the Flamethrowers' miscue, going back up by 1, 18-17.
That hurts. I think we've all dropped one pole in our lives, and you try to make it only that one. It is just so hard to get your head back up after that kind of drop. I'm sure that Federico will be able to push past it, but that's just, it's hard.
I'll tell you, Samantha, the other day I dropped a pole in pickup, and I almost didn't want to rejoin the game for the rest of the time. I was that embarrassed.
It's true. It feels like the entire point hinges on that one catch.
Pull goes out of bounds, and it's going to be Eli Kearns again at the center of the field, handling with Janin. The two have been rocks this entire game. They've played every single offensive point. So Chialvo, it's good to see that they are getting him right back in there after the drop, and he is back on the field.
Gotta get back up on that horse.
That's right. So Chialvo looking for redemption along with the Flamethrowers on this point.
San Francisco really doing a great job of setting up one-on-one matchups upfield.
And Marliov floats it too high for Leahy. That's going to go out the back. Leahy with the attempted greatest, where you take off from inbounds and try to throw it back into your receiver, but can't get enough of a mitt on that one to get it back inbounds.
No.
So the Aviators trying to break again. Theodore, big lefty, throws the break up.
What a throw. Lefties are such a pain to try to mark if you are a right-handed person.
And it should be mentioned that, wow, another great layout grab. It should be mentioned that the Aviators have quite a few lefties on their team, more than I think almost any other team in the AUDL at this point. Ooh, and that was not exactly sure what happened. It looked like his knee came up and hit the disc out of his own hands. That one he's going to want back. So the Flamethrowers get a lucky break and get the disc back. It's Marliov going in the opposite direction, and he's got his receiver wide open. That connection works out the second time around, and it's Patrick Leahy tying the game up 18-18.
You can't let your person get that far away from you when it's a player like Leahy. You know that he's got the legs to run those down, and that was a great shot, really great choice.
So twice as nice for Marliov and Leahy with the Northern California connection, making the magic happen. The Aviators still looking to go up by 1. Some fancy dance moves from Boyd on the line, looking to get loose. Whatever it takes, Samantha.
Whatever it takes. Sometimes you just need to bust a move.
So Chang now up to Carnegie, the traditional Aviators O-line back on the field.
Gotta throw that break.
Things are getting tight in the center. The Flamethrowers are backing off. Elbogen with the massive forehand to McDougall!
McDougall for the score.
Wow. He turned on the Jets and came up with that one. I didn't think there was any chance he was going to get that.
Me neither, but also coming up with style. I don't know if you noticed his slide directly into the return point to his thrower.
That was
very
possibly
casual.
the least awkward layout catch I've ever seen.
I think he's going to have to give me lessons.
Wow. Wow. This kid, I tell you, he is just coming up big when it matters most. Sean McDougall, that is a name you're going to be hearing both for the rest of this year and in the years to come for the Aviators. This kid is something special.
Absolutely.
Flamethrowers back on offense. Chialvo with the disc. Back to the far sideline with Kearns. Kearns gets it to Sloven. Looking for the huck, but Silverman gets in his way with a nice, timely double team.
Yeah, the Flamethrowers really doing a great job of getting the disc back over to the break side of the field. So the mark is really trying to prevent them from being able to throw to that side of the field. And if you can get the disc over there, generally goes well. A
break mark forehand to Sloven goes awry into the ground. Silverman going the opposite direction. And that is Pebley for the skying goal in the corner. And the Aviators are up with another break. That's 20-18.
That was just a remarkable catch by Pebley. I mean, it looked like the San Francisco had a really great play on that disc, that he had the position, but managed to go up over top, bring it down inside the end zone.
Aviators looking unbelievably confident here. As the fourth quarter goes on, they become more and more aggressive as the game has proceeded, throwing up some more deep shots. And it looks like we have another foul on the mark by Johns. That's got to be at least the fifth or sixth foul on the mark for Johns. This is getting a little out of hand for him.
I think just that desire to make the play is really just getting to him. But you can't keep causing that kind of disruption and advantage really for the opposing team.
And you know, Franklin Rowe has got to be happy at the physicality that his team is showing, but really the fouling on the mark doesn't do your team any good.
I can't imagine Franklin being too happy about the disruptive physicality. The intensity, yes, but otherwise.
Not so much. And Jannon with a buttery smooth backhand to Dahlman, hits him in stride. So the Flamethrowers, after fighting through the contact again, bring it to within one on a very, very smooth offensive possession. 7:27 left in the fourth quarter, and they're going to need a few more of those if they want to pull ahead.
It's true. We've actually seen almost as many points just in this first 5 minutes of this quarter as we did throughout that entire third quarter. Both teams only getting 4 or 5 points in that last quarter, and we've already seen at least that many in this quarter.
The scores coming fast and furious for both squads. Possibly some fatigue setting in. The defenses are going to have to dig in deep if they want to get any more breaks in this game. We've got the Aviators back. Joe Forbes gets it to Carnegie in space. Carnegie with the high release backhand. Elbogen goes way up for that one. Excellent mark from Lang to prevent the huck. Carnegie getting the disc again, winding up the backhand. Throws the high release once more to Elbogen, his favorite target. Jacks a forehand to McDougall, and it's McDougall again in the end zone.
There's that name again.
He is having himself quite a game, scoring fully 1/4 of the Aviators' goals in this one. He is just looking confident.
The Aviators are really starting to look much looser. You're really able to see some of the chemistry between club teammates, Husayn, Carnegie and Mark Elbogen, both playing on the Condors. You can really see that they know, intrinsically, they know what the other is looking for.
Elbogen, one of several Aviators players who work for Raytheon, aviation company in Santa Barbara, California. The perfect job for a member of the Aviators. It's the Flamethrowers, back now 10 yards outside. Kearns gets it to Jannon, who lays out, gets it before it hits the turf. An incisive forehand to Chialvo, and the easy flip to Leahy. That's Patrick Leahy with the goal, and we've got another 1-point ball game.
It's interesting to see what happens when you overplay, trying too hard to get a defensive block on throwers like Jannon. It just is not going to go well. He's got too many other throws in his arsenal that if you try too hard to take one away, he'll just find something else.
So how do you stop a thrower like Eli Jannon, who's got pretty much every throw in his arsenal?
I mean, I would just try to never let him get the disc, but coming out on offense, that's almost impossible. I think it really comes down to just team defense, deciding what is going to be sort of okay for that thrower to throw and deciding to only give him what the team has decided is the throw that you have to give up something. You have to choose one thing to give away with that kind of person.
And it's an errant throw from McDougall behind Carnegie, giving the Flamethrowers the chance to pull back into a tie ball game here with 5:45 left in the fourth quarter. The Flamethrowers working it up amongst their handlers, back to Leahy.
There's that patience again.
Leahy to Ikeda, and Ikeda up to Sugioka. Some new names on this defensive line. Some fresh legs going in, trying to pull them within one.
Middle. Still middle. Looking at you, Grant.
And it's Dahlman whose forehand pops up in the air. There's 3 defenders, and that's Elbogen with the Sky D to prevent that one. And it's back to Boyd.
Another lefty.
Boyd looks off Carnegie. Stall count getting up there. Manages to get it off to Chang.
Looking for the hook.
Chang fights through his mark to Elbogen.
Interesting throw choice.
And that's back to Mello. Mello in the center of the field gets it back to Forbes. And it's back to Chang. Forbes going up line. Gets it in power position.
I think you're really starting to see the fatigue on the behalf of the upfield cutters. You could see some of the frustration from the handlers that they didn't have any options.
And Elbogen throws 2 or 3 shimmy shakes and gets led up line beautifully by his thrower. He fought through that one really well, and the Aviators now get the break. Up by 2 with 4:16 left in the game. It's 22-20.
I believe we call that bookends, when Mark Elbogen with that huge D and then getting a score on the other end of the field.
So the Flamethrowers trying to pull within 1. Time running out in this one. Needing to hold. Low throw gets scooped up off the ground. It's back to Chialvo. Up to Sloven on the sideline. Holsters the huck. Flamethrowers working well in their vertical stack, and it's a throw to Leahy, who reels it in ahead of Chiles, and that is nice, smooth offense for the Flamethrowers.
One of the great things about Ultimate is recognizing the camaraderie even between opponents. You could see Leahy giving a high five to Jeff Silverman, who attempted the D but wasn't able to get there, and just recognizing the good playing from your opponent.
Spirit of the game, very important in all levels of the game. So it's good to see 2 opponents going at it so hard but still able to show mutual respect.
And it's really great to see that hasn't been lost in the translation into the professional game. In this arena, it could be very easy to start relying on the lack of attention from the referee to take advantage of the rules. And it's really great to see that despite that, the spirit of the game is still alive and well in all of the players, including the respect between opponents.
Aviators giving the Flamethrowers some chances here in the late going to bring this back to a tie ball game. But another great poach D. Who else? Sean McDougall steps in to take that one back for the Aviators. And he gets the bookends. It's McDougall with the D and the score for the Aviators to go up by 2 with 3:08 left in the game.
As we've seen, 3 minutes can be a long time.
Absolutely. With the kind of offensive firepower they have, they can score in 10 seconds easily. So there is no resting on their laurels now for the Aviators D-line. They're going to have to fight for everything. And a beautiful deep pull. Flamethrowers now pinned halfway into their end zone. Ooh.
Wow.
A late bid. Looked like, once again, Johns tries to pull up, ends up half-heartedly going into the side of his receiver. Looked like, he tried to pull up on him.
I don't know if there was a world where he was going to get that D.
So bodies are flying around on this field. Both teams want it really badly.
And
another foul on the mark.
Oh,
that's going to go back to the thrower.
Such unfortunate timing.
That's Warden.
That could have been a stall down. It was very close to a high stall count if he'd maintained his distance.
Janin working incredibly hard. Gets the disc up the field. It's back to Sloven. Sloven gets through the double team to Kialvo. Kearns macks the disc to himself. And that's going to be a foul call on the mark. It's going back to Kialvo, and he'll get 10 more yards marked by Bellinger. Time running out on the Flamethrowers. They'll need to score here.
You can feel the intensity from both teams, just fighting so hard to get this point through.
And Marliog with a push pass
Wow.
gets blocked, and Silverman comes in to clean up the garbage and knock that one to the ground. That may actually do it here. That was a crucial misplay by the Flamethrowers. They absolutely needed to punch that one in if they had a chance to win this game. So the Aviators going in the opposite direction.
1 minute in the game.
Working some clock. Flamethrowers desperate for a D to get it back to bring within 1. And it's Silverman in the center, playing a handler game with Warden and Bellinger.
There's no rush to score if they just hold on to possession. I mean, holding on possession for nearly a minute is tough in this kind of game, but if they can just keep possession of the disc.
And the Aviators are going to call a timeout as the stall count was getting high. And with 33 seconds left in the game, Samantha, the Flamethrowers are going to need a miracle here. I'd like to remind you that this timeout is brought to you by Savage, the ultimate apparel company. Savage is proud to sponsor the Aviators and is the official provider of off-field clothing. O-line set to tap it in with Chang and Mello and Forbes in the backfield. And that's what the Flamethrowers dialed up right there. It's Ikeda back to Dahlman. They need a quick score. And that one's hanging up. And a very nice grab on the sideline from Conqueror, who jacks it to the end zone. And that is going to be a phenomenal catch from Jordan Jeffrey.
That is not what the Aviators had planned.
So a quick turnover and score in the opposite direction gives the Flamethrowers just the tiniest bit of life with 10 seconds left in the game. They're down by 1. Samantha, what can the Flamethrowers do to get the D on this point and punch it into tie?
They have to run down on that pole like their lives depended on it. If they can get a D on that end zone line, they could have a quick conversion.
The Flamethrowers desperate for a last gasp score here with 10 seconds left in the game. And Josh Greenow is going to have to dial up something to try to bring this game back to even and send it into overtime.
But it looks like that is an offside. And
Indeed it is, Samantha.
I don't understand. What
they
just
get to-
happened? Why would you have an intentional offside?
So that the Aviators are going to get the disc at the 50-yard line.
That is a good point. By causing the intentional offside, they don't have to run down the pole.
They're now going to be able to get their defense set right from the start of the whistle.
They can potentially get the D right away. If they get it at half field, they still have time to score.
And Ikeda with the intentional foul to stop the clock with 2 seconds left.
But an intentional foul is...
Yes, with the intentional foul, there's an automatic runoff, so the Aviators pull out the victory. A bit of an anticlimactic end to the game, but they pull
it's true,
it out.
but I mean, after the excitement of that game, I guess a little anticlimax at the end is okay. We had a great show here today.
The Aviators now with this victory pulled a 3-4 in the Western Division, and they are now in the 3rd spot and firmly in that playoff spot for the Western Conference. Plenty of games left to play in this season, but a hard-fought, tough physical battle today here, Samantha.
It's true.
And the Aviators have got to be happy with their performance.
Yeah, this really just shows why Ultimate has to be my favorite game. The level of skill and strategy, both teams fighting with every ounce that they have to put on a show for their fans, but also just to play their best.
Well, that'll do it here from Patterson Field in Los Angeles, California. I'm Jeremy Ziskind. This is Samantha Pitman, and we'll see you next week. Boom!